15 one-hit wonders from the 70s that defined a generation. The radio crackled to life in your parents' wood-paneled station wagon. A song you'd never heard before started playing, and within 30 seconds, everyone in the car was humming along. That was the magic of the 1970s, when radio DJs had the power to turn complete unknowns into household names with a single spin. These weren't just songs that came and went. They were cultural lightning bolts that captured something essential about growing up in the 70s. Maybe it was the funky bass line that made your dad tap the steering wheel, or lyrics so catchy your little sister learned them before her multiplication tables. Today we're counting down 15 one-hit wonders from the 70s that didn't just define the decade. They defined what it meant to fall in love with music. These artists might have only spent 3 minutes in the spotlight, but somehow they managed to soundtrack our entire childhood. But here's what's incredible. One of these songs was recorded as a throwaway B-side and ended up selling 11 million copies worldwide. Another was written by an advertising executive who turned a bread commercial character into a trucker legend. And wait until you hear about number 3. It was so controversial that radio stations banned it, but too catchy to actually stop. So crank up that old stereo, maybe dust off a vinyl record or two, and let's rediscover the magic of artists who proved that sometimes one perfect song is all you need to live forever. Don't forget to subscribe, because we're about to take a musical journey through the decade that taught us rhythm was everything. Number 15, Love is in the Air, John Paul Young. Love is in the Air by John Paul Young was pure infectious joy from Australia. Released in 1978, this song was written by Harry Vanda and George Young, older brother of AC/DC's Angus and Malcolm Young, and it captured that late 70s optimism perfectly. The song was pure celebration, with a melody designed specifically to make people smile. John Paul Young was already established in Australia, but this song made him a worldwide phenomenon for exactly 3 minutes and 42 seconds. It became the soundtrack to countless first dances, wedding receptions, and moments when people just needed to feel good about being alive. Number 14, Shannon, Henry Gross. Shannon by Henry Gross was one of the most heartbreaking story songs ever to become a hit. Released in 1976, it told the tale of a beloved dog who dies, inspired by the death of Carl Wilson's dog from the Beach Boys. Henry Gross was a former member of Sha Na Na who wrote this deeply personal song about loss and memory. It shouldn't have been a hit since it was essentially about pet death, but the melody was so beautiful and the emotion so genuine that it connected with listeners everywhere. The song reached number 6 and became one of those tracks that could make grown men cry in their cars. Number 13, Hocus Pocus, Focus. Hocus Pocus by Focus was one of the most bizarre and memorable songs of the early 70s. This Dutch progressive rock band created a track featuring yodeling, whistling, and guitar work that seemed to come from another planet. Released in 1971, it was built around Thijs van Leer's incredible vocal gymnastics and Jan Akkerman's intricate guitar playing. It shouldn't have worked as a hit single, but somehow this 9-minute prog rock odyssey captured imaginations around the world. The combination of technical virtuosity and playful weirdness made it unforgettable, proving that sometimes the strangest ideas create the most memorable music. Number 12, Fly Robin Fly, Silver Convention. Fly Robin, Fly by Silver Convention was a disco instrumental that proved you didn't need lyrics to create a hit. Released in 1975, this German group created pure dance floor energy with only 6 words: fly, robin, fly, and up, up to the sky. The song was designed specifically for dancing, with a structure that built tension and released it perfectly. It won a Grammy for Best R&B Instrumental Performance and spent 3 weeks at number 1, representing the international nature of 70s disco and proving that good rhythm was a universal language. But wait until you hear what's coming. Number 11 features a song that made every kid in America want to practice martial arts. Number 11, Kung Fu Fighting, Carl Douglas. Kung Fu Fighting by Carl Douglas erupted from speakers in 1974 like a musical karate chop. Nobody expected a song about martial arts to become the soundtrack to every school playground, but there we were, air kicking our way through recess while chanting, "Those cats were fast as lightning." Carl Douglas was a session musician in the right studio at the right time when producer Bidu Apaya needed someone to record this experimental track. Douglas recorded it as a B-side, never imagining it would sell over 11 million copies and capture everything happening in mid-70s culture. Bruce Lee movies, disco fever, and kids everywhere pretending to be kung fu masters. Number 10. Vehicle, the Ides of March. Vehicle by the Ides of March was pure Chicago brass rock energy. Released in 1970, it was a horn-driven powerhouse that captured the late 60s, early 70s fascination with combining rock attitude and big band instrumentation. The Ides of March were led by Jim Peterick, who would later co-write Eye of the Tiger for Survivor. Vehicle was their moment of pure rock glory, with brass that hit like a punch and vocals that demanded attention. It reached number 2 and became one of those songs that perfectly captured the energy of early 70s rock, proving that sometimes the best music comes from unexpected combinations. Number 9. Popcorn, Hot Butter. Popcorn by Hot Butter was an electronic music experiment that accidentally became a worldwide phenomenon. Released in 1972, this instrumental track was originally composed by Gershon Kingsley but became famous through Hot Butter's synthesizer version. The song was pure novelty, with its bouncing electronic melody that really did sound like popcorn popping. It was one of the first electronic hits to break through to mainstream radio, predicting the synthesizer revolution that would define the 80s. Stan Free played the memorable melody on a Moog synthesizer, creating something simultaneously futuristic and playful. Number 8. The Night Chicago Died, Paper Lace. The Night Chicago Died by Paper Lace was pure musical theater. This British group created an epic tale about a gun battle between police and Al Capone's men that supposedly happened on the east side of Chicago. Never mind that Chicago doesn't really have an east side, or that the story was complete fiction. The song was so dramatic and catchy that nobody cared about geographical accuracy. The track built tension like a movie soundtrack, with urgent piano and vocals that made you feel like you were living through the action. It hit number 1 in 1974 and proved that sometimes the best stories sound true, even when they're completely made up. Coming up, we're meeting the artists who turned everyday situations into pure romance. Number 7 created a 3-minute romantic comedy that's still played at weddings today. Number 7. Escape, the Pina Colada Song. Rupert Holmes, Escape, the Pina Colada Song by Rupert Holmes was the ultimate relationship anthem disguised as a tropical vacation commercial. Released in 1979, it perfectly captured the end-of-decade desire to escape from everyday routine and find something more exciting. The song's genius was its narrative structure. A guy bored in his relationship reads personal ads and finds someone who likes pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. The twist ending reveals it's his own girlfriend who placed the ad, and they rediscover each other through shared desires for adventure. Holmes created a 3-minute romantic comedy that became the perfect wedding song for couples wanting something different. Number 6. Brandy, You're a Fine Girl, Looking Glass. Brandy, You're a Fine Girl by Looking Glass was the epitome of smooth 70s storytelling. The song told the story of a barmaid in a port town who falls for a sailor, but he loves the sea more than any woman. It was like a 3-minute novel, with rich storytelling and that unforgettable bass line. Looking Glass was led by Elliot Lurie, who wrote about a fictional barmaid but made her feel completely real. The track spent 1 week at number 1 in 1972 and became one of those songs that defined an era. It was romantic without being sappy, mysterious without being pretentious, and had that timeless quality that made it feel eternal. Number 5. Seasons in the Sun, Terry Jacques. Seasons in the Sun by Terry Jacques was originally a French song by Jacques Brel, translated into English and turned into a massive 1974 hit about a dying man saying goodbye to his loved ones. It should have been depressing, but somehow Terry Jacques made it beautiful and uplifting. The song spent 3 weeks at number 1 and became one of those tracks that defined 70s soft rock. Jacques was a Canadian musician who had been in the Poppy family, but this solo effort became his defining moment. It was emotional without being heavy, sad without being depressing, and captured that early 70s vibe perfectly. Number 4. Play That Funky Music, Wild Cherry. Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry proved that sometimes the best funk comes from the most unexpected places. These guys were a rock band from Ohio who got tired of playing to empty clubs. Their drummer suggested they try playing funk instead, and lead singer Rob Parisi wrote this anthem about a white boy learning to get down. The irony was perfect. Here were 4 white guys from the Midwest singing about playing funky music, and they absolutely nailed it. The bass line was infectious, the guitar work was tight, and Parisi's vocals had just the right amount of soul. It hit number 1 in 1976 and became the perfect bridge between rock and funk. But wait, we're about to meet the songs that got so controversial they were banned from radio. Number 3 had a twist ending that was too dark for some stations. Number 3. Timothy, the Buoys. Timothy by the Buoys was perhaps the darkest story ever to become a hit song. Released in 1971, it told the tale of 3 miners trapped in a cave-in, with a twist ending that suggested cannibalism. It was written by Rupert Holmes and produced by the team behind The Night Chicago Died. The song was controversial enough to get banned by some radio stations, but catchy enough that it couldn't be stopped. The Buoys were a Pennsylvania bar band who recorded this one perfect slice of dark storytelling and then faded back into obscurity. It proved that 70s radio was willing to embrace uncomfortable subjects as long as they came wrapped in irresistible melodies. Number 2. Convoy, C.W. McCall. Convoy by C.W. McCall turned CB radio culture into a chart-topping phenomenon. Released in 1975, this talking blues track about truckers outrunning the law captured America's fascination with the open road and citizen band radios. The song was basically a 3-minute movie, complete with sound effects and trucker slang. C.W. McCall was actually an advertising executive named Bill Fries, who created the character for a bread campaign. But when Convoy hit, he became the voice of American truckers everywhere. The song spawned a movie, made CB radios a national obsession, and turned phrases like rubber duck and smoky into everyday language. It was pure 70s Americana, independent spirit, anti-authority attitude, and highway romance. And now, the number 1 one-hit wonder that made every family gathering awkward for parents who finally figured out what their kids were singing. Number 1. Afternoon Delight, Starland Vocal Band. Afternoon Delight by Starland Vocal Band was about as wholesome as soft rock could get, even when it was talking about something that definitely wasn't wholesome. Released in 1976, this harmony-heavy tune about a midday romantic encounter was so smooth and innocent-sounding that it took some people years to figure out what it was actually about. The Starland Vocal Band created this perfect piece of mid-70s AM radio gold that won a Grammy and gave them their own variety show. The song became a cultural touchstone representing that innocent era when double entendres could hide in plain sight on family-friendly radio, and everyone could sing along without thinking too hard about the lyrics. It was the ultimate stealth hit, a song about adult desires disguised as sunshine pop that became the soundtrack to family road trips across America. Those 15 songs didn't just play on the radio, they became the soundtrack to our lives. Every one of these artists proved that you don't need a lengthy career to create something magical. Sometimes 3 minutes and 30 seconds is enough to capture lightning in a bottle and change the world. These one-hit wonders remind us what made the 70s so special. It was a decade when radio DJs still had the power to break unknown artists, when a great song could come from anywhere and reach everyone, and when musical diversity was celebrated rather than segmented into narrow formats. From kung fu fighting anthems to controversial mining ballads, from electronic experiments to romantic comedies in song form, these tracks captured the spirit of a generation figuring out who they wanted to be. They soundtrack our school dances, our first kisses, our family road trips, and those perfect summer afternoons when everything felt possible. Which of these songs still makes you stop everything when it comes on the radio? Did we miss any one-hit wonders that defined your 70s experience? Drop your favorites in the comments. We love hearing your stories about the music that shaped your memories. If this musical journey brought back some golden memories, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. The 70s gave us more than just great songs. They gave us the soundtrack to the best decade ever. And we're just getting started with these trips down memory lane. Thanks for singing along with us, and remember, sometimes the most beautiful music comes from artists who had just one perfect moment to share with the world.